At 14:47, October 19, 2025, Hazrat Shah Jalal Airport, Dhaka. In a secure logistics office, a Rosatom official pressed send. The shipment had arrived in Moscow. Minutes later, low on the horizon, a swarm of 12 Ukrainian FPV, Wild Hornet, drones screamed forward at 150 miles per hour, heading for a warehouse containing 18 tons of classified components destined for the Rupper nuclear power plant. The strike was the result of a months-long operation, tracking Starlink signals, infiltrating Russia's logistics system, and altering a single line of data, mislabeling the container as flammable chemicals. High above, a Lelica 100 Recon drone scanned the QR code via 4K infrared camera and sent an encrypted signal, target confirmed. 14:30, from a forest depot 50 miles from Dhaka, 3 drone carriers lifted off. Their bays opened, 12 Wild Hornets launched, merged into formation, and flew at 50 feet altitude, hugging the ground to stay beneath radar coverage. The lead pilot, staring through FPV goggles, saw the QR code flash, target locked. This wasn't just any container, it was the lifeline of Russia's nuclear ambitions. A hit here could delay the Rupper project by 18 months and spark security concerns in India. In minutes, what was thought to be a secure delivery had become a deep strike target without a single radio command activating it. 14:48, Dhaka, Bangladesh. At the Air Defense Command Center, a radar operator noticed something odd. 12 fast-moving, low-altitude blips. Too fast, too low for civilian aircraft. Alarms blared. Unidentified inbound, speed 290, low altitude. At the airport perimeter, a soldier opened fire. One drone exploded mid-air, the first kill and the first trap, because the remaining 11 never deviated. Same formation, same speed, same vector. Their target, the warehouse holding Russian nuclear components. Immediately, the Bangladeshi commander picked up the red phone, direct line to Rosatom's local office, less than 500 yards away. We confirm a drone swarm is heading directly toward your shipment. Emergency protocols kicked in. 2 miles away, a Panzer S-1 air defense crew received the go code. Radar antenna spun, launch systems came online, and the electronic eye began sweeping the sky. Ukraine had lost the element of surprise. 14:49, no more silence, no more stealth. Dhaka sky was now ablaze with radar emissions, and 11 Wild Hornets were suddenly face-to-face with a multi-million-dollar air defense system ready to fire. On paper, it should have been over in seconds. But the Ukrainian drones didn't back down. For broke formation, a reckless move or a genius maneuver was unfolding. Instead of diving straight into the target, the 4 detached and dropped thermite payloads onto an empty stack of containers just 50 yards from a real objective. The powder ignited into a 2,000 degrees Fahrenheit fireball, drawing in every fire crew, every guard to the wrong place. They ran toward the decoy blaze, while the real attack continued, silently, from above. Overhead, the Lelica 100 Recon drone locked on with its camera, no radio signals needed. It painted one specific container with a covert infrared laser. That paint activated a hidden lithium battery package planted inside. A sabotage module began short-circuiting the electronics, creating a slow-burning internal fire. Inside the Russian command center, a technician spotted something off. Container 77B was 3.6 degrees Fahrenheit warmer than its surroundings, a minor fluctuation, but just enough to raise suspicion. There was no doubt now, the primary asset had been compromised. The order went out to call in the eye of the sky. A Russian IL-20 AWACS began taxiing, preparing to launch and scan the entire area from above. But at 14:50, the aircraft was still minutes from takeoff. On the ground, the crisis had already started to unfold, and the response was already in motion. The scenario: a thermite decoy fire overwhelms visual attention, an RF immune activation quietly triggers an internal threat, and a slight thermal anomaly forces defenders into action. The alert systems came alive, but too late to prevent the precision-layered sabotage already underway. A Russian special security team guarding the shipment received emergency orders: evacuate the primary asset. 2 soldiers grabbed shoulder-fired Igloo-S missiles, scanning the sky for heat signatures, hunting for the electric motors inside the Ukrainian drones. Seconds later, the target-lock tone screamed into their helmets. A shrill alarm pierced the headset of the Ukrainian pilot. He yanked the control stick, throwing the drone into a 9G evasive loop. The missile streaked past the lens, a miss by just 10 feet. But the nightmare was only beginning. The Russians had begun moving the target container, and the thermite smoke screen Ukraine had deployed now became a black fog blinding their own vision. The pilot was flying almost blind, steering through smoke and fire with a second Igloo-S missile on his tail. He couldn't see the target. He couldn't see at all, and the container was disappearing. 14:51, the second missile locked on and launched. This time, the pilot didn't evade. He hit the trigger, and from the drone's undercarriage, an ALE-47 thermal decoy flare shot out, glowing like a falling star. The heat-seeking warhead was instantly seduced. It veered off the true target, chasing the hotter flare, and detonated harmlessly in midair. The first threat was neutralized, but the pilot was still flying blind inside a wall of black smoke, and the container, the real prize, was still on the move. The only question left: how do you hit something you can't see? The answer came from above. Amid the swirling black smoke, the Lelica 100 reconnaissance drone glided silently, its infrared camera slicing through the haze as if it weren't there. From above, Lelica painted a targeting laser on the rooftop of the moving Russian container, the mission's primary objective. In the FPV goggles, the Ukrainian pilot saw it, a green crosshair, the only point of clarity in the chaos. No radar, no enemy silhouettes, just a glowing square guiding him through a hell of smoke and fire. 6 Wild Hornets broke formation, diving down to suppress Russian Igloo-S teams, forcing soldiers into cover. The remaining 5 Hornets locked onto Lelica's infrared laser, following it through the haze like ghosts of war. Below, the Russian troops barely looked up, too late. 5 Hornets plunged straight into the container. There was no thunderous explosion, just a deep, suffocating hum, as the very air inside the warehouse ignited. Their thermobaric warheads unleashed a pressure wave over 1,000 psi, incinerating everything within dozens of meters. The 18-ton container was torn into molten steel, shielding collapsed, defenses obliterated. The path to the final target was open. 14 hours, 51 minutes, and 5 seconds, Kiev. A single word echoed across the command channel: ignite. The 5 remaining drones dove in unison, striking precise coordinates calculated down to the millimeter. Then silence. For a moment, the world held its breath. And then a white-hot plasma sphere erupted, consuming the entire warehouse. The fuse was delayed 1.1 seconds, enough for the first charge to penetrate the steel shell, making way for the main blast. Vaporized fuel mixed with oxygen, triggering a hyperviolent reaction. Temperatures soared past 2,500 degrees Celsius, sucking the air out of the structure. Concrete walls reflected thermal waves, turning the building into a massive pressure cooker. Load-bearing steel bent. The concrete roof detonated and collapsed, burying all evidence in the tomb it had created. A perfect strike. Precise. Relentless. Irreversible. The electromagnetic aftershock of the blast fried every server inside the logistics office. Lights stayed on, but data, manifests, shipping codes, delivery receipts vanished forever. At ground zero, total chaos. Alarms screamed. Fire crews stood powerless before the inferno. Toxic smoke and gas forced Hazrat Shah Jalal Airport, one of Asia's busiest hubs, to shut down for 6 hours. An international crisis had just erupted. No survivors. No recovery. Hours later, Maxar satellites captured the scene. A 15-meter wide black crater, filled with scorched, twisted metal. All that remained of Russia's most advanced forward logistics depot. 18 tons of nuclear components gone, for Bangladeshi soldiers lightly injured. A small price, but a massive political blow to Moscow's credibility. $50 million in Russian investment turned to ashes in the most devastating drone strike of the year. But the real damage isn't measured in dollars. It's the strategic chain reaction rippling across the globe. First came the inferno on the runway, freezing Project Rupert, Russia's flagship nuclear diplomacy program in Asia. A delay of at least 18 months. Next came the shockwave, reaching all the way to New Delhi. India, a longtime Russian ally, now sees a weakened partner, unable to protect its assets 6,000 kilometers from the front lines. Then the Russian global logistics system began to unravel. Every shipment, from military hardware to diplomatic pouches, became suspect. Insurance premiums spiked, inspections ground operations to a halt. The Russian supply chain began to choke on its own fear. But the final aftershock was the deadliest of all: paranoia inside the Kremlin. Putin's security briefings grew shorter. His circle of trust shrank tighter. No one could agree on who to blame: CIA, a rogue mole, or just a Ukrainian hacker who got lucky. And amid the smoke and ruin, one final lesson echoed: never ship your secrets if a Ukrainian drone might have liked your tracking number. Only one question remains: how will Russia respond? Leave your comment below, and don't forget to subscribe for updates as the next front opens.